You got something to say? You want to add to the show? What are you waiting for? Don't just sit there. Say something.
I got it
now,
figured out.
back to the studio with Rod.
And Dupes. Don't mind me, I'm just tweeting here. Who is Monday's RP show Rockstar of the Day for Rockstar Supply Chain Solutions? Your options are CJ Gable, who we understand is Carl Gable Jr., but we're warned not to ask him about that, so we didn't. Thank you. Josh Holden or J. Red Dumba, Dumbalicious. And tweet, sent it. And I asked Director Jordan to throw out as many toys as he can here in the overtime segment because people really love the overtime. Mick Panko's voting for Jared Dumba right off the jump. Oh! How do you like that? My earplug just came unplugged.
Whoa!
Jeff Krieger says Josh Holdy. I think we got a real race here.
Yep, I agree.
I don't know if Shocks is watching right now. I got a lot of things going on that I want to get off my mind in the 5 minutes that we have left.
Unload.
You know how my chiropractor said I need to sit up straight?
Yeah.
Because he watches the show every day. So I put the boom mic up here.
So you have to reach it.
No, I kind of like it. This is good. But our technical producer, Ryan, doesn't like the shadow that it casts across my chest. I don't care. My doctor said, home run. Like, have fun with this, you guys. Like, Clark was afraid that these, or maybe Jordan, that these little toys don't fit in with the show. What does, by the way, an iguana? Nothing fits in on this show, and everything fits in on this show.
Yeah.
There's Ricky right there. Scotty Clark chiming in, by the way. He says, Laine has created the situation by demanding for the second straight offseason who he wants to play with. Scheifele. He's become a major distraction. So I guess that's where it's come from. And our Winnipeg viewers have said, you guys don't talk enough Jets. So I guess we could do that now. Mick Panko says the graphics are great. Hilarious. I'd like to do them now every day. The graphics. What the hell? So anyways, I said to the guys, they've said that Patrik Laine, for the lack of a better term, is a cancer. One of those guys. That's what we've heard for a very long time. Scotty's just pointed it out. He's made his demands. And I just wonder, where this stuff comes from, that they're trying to move him. Believe me, I've been on the other end of it where GMs in both hockey and football have said, put it out there. We want to get this out there. Say it. See what the reaction is. Mm-hmm. Is that what's going on with Laine? Or is it fake news? You don't know. You don't know.
They only know in that locker room. And Paul Maurice, the head coach of the Jets, he's the only one who really knows if it's a distraction and where they're going with this. And if Paul Maurice is okay with Scheifele and with Laine, and if he's okay with his locker room, then I trust Paul Maurice because he's done some pretty good things in Winnipeg. So I think they're in a good spot. But it is something to monitor. If it's getting out to the media, if it's becoming somewhat of a distraction, then I could see it being a problem. I could.
Wow, this is great. Mick says, do you blame Laine for wanting to play with an elite playmaker? From John Ohm. He is not a distraction. Give Laine what he wants. He's that good. Sounds like a pouty child. Not you, John, but Laine. Give him what he wants. It doesn't work that way.
No.
You don't whine and get what you want.
And what does that do to the rest?
It doesn't work in life for anybody.
What does it do to your team? I don't want to play with those guys. Sorry. I don't want to play with them.
John, please stop writing in all caps and listen to what Darren's just saying. Can you just repeat what you just said?
Well, what does that look like in a locker room when they say, look, I don't want to play with these guys. I only want to play with here. You got to put me with players who can play with me. You're saying that those guys
aren't good enough.
They're not good enough. And, I mean, that doesn't feel very good. And that doesn't work. You don't create a team like that. You don't win like that either, right? You just don't. You don't win like that. It's not going to happen.
Really good comment here from Nelson Hakowicz, our VP of Sim Events. who says it's strange how in the NBA and NFL it's okay for players to request who they want to play with and are comfortable with. In the NHL, you want some comfort and familiarity, you're a distraction. Wow, is that a good point? Because I had a long meeting yesterday with a long-time sports guy, and we talked about the differences with hockey and those other leagues. And hockey's just getting dummied. They didn't jump on Black Lives Matter fast enough. They didn't do a boycott fast enough. Hockey is the estranged part of the family of the big four of the NFL, NBA, and Major League Baseball. If you want to do percentages of race, most of them are white. And I think still over half of them are Canadian. And even the Europeans are of Caucasian descent, however you want to say it. That's not the sport's fault. There's a different culture in that league than the others. Maybe is what I'm saying. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, it is.
And why do they have to pay for that? Why do they have to be like the other leagues? It's not... Sorry, you continue. I'm sorry. But they do their own things. Hockey fights cancer, this, that. They have their own things. Why do they got to be like every other league? And if they aren't like every other league, you're a racist league. You're not an inclusive league. No, we are our own league. What's the problem with that?
No, that's what makes it fun.
That's what makes them them.
Everybody wants, to complain about all of your shortcomings when the reality is the only way to succeed in this world is to lean into your strengths and what makes you unique and what's your competitive advantage. Being the same as everybody else is not a recipe for winning. That's a recipe for being ordinary, right? You need to stand out. So stop worrying about what you're not good at and start thinking about what you are really good at. And what the NHL, they do what they do really well. Basketball can do what they do really well. Football can do their thing really well. You need to, you need to be unique. You need to lean into, what you're good at, not worry about what you're not good at.
Oh, boy, it goes into what we talked about on Friday with leagues and teams being afraid to do anything, so they don't do anything. Like the NHL is so afraid. But you said they do a great thing of what they do, but obviously they're hypersensitive to being called out for not boycotting games because the NBA did, or not recognizing Black Lives Matter. But I'm sitting there. I have watched the NBA games, the playoffs this year, and I've sat. This doesn't make me racist. I watch the floor. There's 10 guys on the court. There's not one white guy out there. That's the culture. Now, I understand there's Kelly Olynyk, the clinic Kelly Olynyk with the Heat, but he doesn't play every minute. I'm just saying there's not one white guy on the floor. Well, the social justice warriors will look at a hockey game and say there's not one black guy on the ice. This is racist. How does it flip? It's the same mentality. It's the culture of the two leagues.
Right. They grew, and it's just the way it is. It's what we do up in Canada, and or what we do. You grow up on the ice. You grow up with a stick in your hands. And athletes that make it to the NBA, all of them, doesn't matter what your color is. Grow up with a basketball in your hands, or grow up on the court, or grow up with a football in your hands. Like, it's different, and it's not even necessarily about the culture of black versus white, but it has to do with where you've grown up. We grew up where it's cold, so we go on the ice. Yeah. You grow up where it's warm, so you're outside. You're on a court. And it's economic status. You grow up where you don't have as much money in different parts of the world. Well, it's cheaper to get a basketballer. That's why soccer is so popular, right?
I'm sorry, you're on a tremendous roll here with the monologue, but it's a little like point one in my 10 Things column yesterday, that if you're offended, thrown into a rage by something, you should look at why you're thrown into that rage. I'll give you an example of why. I was on a flight with the Rough Riders many years ago, and a white player said to a black player, "Get out of my seat, boy." How do you think that went over? And the black player jumped up and said, "Where I come from, calling me boy is a racist insult." And the white player said, "You're not where you're from right now. Get out of my seat." It was as black and white, literally, as it could be. But I've never forgot it, obviously, because I'm bringing it up today. But I think my point is with the NHL, they have their own causes. I don't see the NBA raising millions of dollars for hockey fights cancer. Why would they? That's the NHL's thing. So when the NHL is just getting destroyed because they weren't boycotting games because the NBA was, And there was so much public pressure to do it. Initially, the NHL didn't want to. They're like, this is your league's fight. Go ahead. We support you, but we're going to play our games over here. I hope you're not offended. But because even their own media jumped on their back, they had to do it. And I wish the NHL would have stood their ground and said, we support them, but this is what we're going to do. We have our own causes.
Yeah.
That line is so blurred now that I don't know that we're ever coming back.
No, you're right. It's so blurred, and it's really confusing and complicated. And back to the story of the football players on the plane. I mean,
your mind's still racing.
Again, nothing to do with skin color or anything. It had to do with, here's a senior player on the team, and you're sitting in his seat.
Yeah,
right.
That's pretty much what it was.
Yeah, we just all want to be offended for other people, and it's just sometimes you need to understand the situation that you're in and.
Tackling the sports issues, tackling the social issues. That's what we do here on Every Day. Darren Bradley writes it and says, I love overtime. It should be 30 minutes long. Well, somebody just scored. Darren, you. So it's over. A lot of hockey tomorrow on the show. It's going to be good. Matthew Barnaby. Does he need an introduction?
No.
I just love to say famed NHL super pest.
Yeah.
Matthew Barnaby, who we've become close friends. What a shock. Birds of a feather. There's something they said about birds of a feather. Portland Winterhawks forward Seth Jarvis, who's expecting and will go in the first round tomorrow. And maybe Tristan Robbins late first. Who knows with him? We'll get his expectations tomorrow. Yeah. Saskatoon Blades forward Tristan Robbins. So it's going to be big. Great job, everybody. Squadcast coming up tonight, live. What time, Clark? Check it out. Check out the Squadcast Facebook page for details on watching tonight's show. And we're out of here. Thank you to CJ Gable, Josh Holden, Jared Dumba, and most of you, all you, because without you, there would be none of us. We'll see you tomorrow at 10 a.m. Mountain on Facebook Live and Game Plus TV.
You're watching Rod Pedersen On Demand. For more of The Rod Pedersen Show, visit rodpedersen.com or follow Rod Pedersen on social media.